She reached for my hand in that courtroom. 33 years together. And now she wanted my hand. I pulled it away. The judge was already on page 3. Diane's attorney was on his feet, but not speaking, just standing there, one hand flat on the table. Whatever he'd planned to say, it was gone. Diane leaned toward me, whispered, "Gary, please." I looked straight ahead. The judge set the document down, removed her glasses, looked at the attorney and said, "Counsel, I'm looking at 11 transfers totaling $47,000. Your client's name is on every one." She waited. He stood there, opened his mouth, and couldn't say a word. By the time we got to that courtroom, the damage had already been done. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. Kitchen table. Diane sat across from me, set both hands flat on the wood and said, "I've already spoken to someone. I want you out. Not, I'm unhappy. Not, we need to talk. Already spoken to someone. Past tense. Decided." I picked up my coffee, set it back down, said, "I understand. I thought we were stable, spent decades building something solid. A business, a home, a life that felt like it had weight to it. Enough that it never crossed my mind she'd be planning an exit. She had a 4-week head start. I know because I found her legal consultation receipt tucked behind a credit card statement she didn't expect me to open. February 9th. While I was still coming home every evening, she was already sitting across a desk from an attorney. The morning she told me, I drove out toward Ray Road, pulled into a parking lot, sat there 31 minutes, didn't start the engine, just sat. Then I went home, went to my office, opened a composition notebook, black cover, and wrote down every word she'd said, as exact as I could hold them. 6 months later, that notebook was sitting in front of a judge. I didn't change anything she could see. Paid the mortgage, maintained the yard, kept showing up. But 8 days later, I went through the joint statements, all the way back to September. Small transfers, the kind you don't notice one at a time. $1,800 here, $3,400 there. Easy to ignore. Until I added everything up. $23,000. Gone. That's when I understood. This wasn't something she'd decided in March. She'd been leaving for months. I wrote every transfer down. Date, amount, partial account number. Every single one. Diane moved through the house like nothing had shifted. Made dinner that night. Asked if I'd taken the recycling out. She was calm. Too calm. Like nothing had changed. The decision was already made. All she had to do now was wait. That was her mistake. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't find out until 4 days before the hearing, was that she hadn't just planned the divorce. She'd already reached inside my business and found someone willing to help her. If she got to him first, I wouldn't just lose the house. I'd lose everything I spent 27 years building. I sat at my desk until 11 that night, going through everything Marcus Webb could have shown her. 2 years of records. Not looking for mistakes, looking for what he could use against me. Marcus Webb, operations manager, 11 years with Hollis Mechanical. He didn't just know the business, he knew exactly how to take it apart. I didn't call him, didn't confront him, wrote his name in the notebook and kept moving. 3 days later, Diane's attorney filed for temporary exclusive use of the marital home. Not eventually, now. Court order. I had 14 days to respond before a judge could sign it. I called Patricia Walsh that same afternoon. She read the filing, said, "This is aggressive. She expected you not to be ready." She thought I wouldn't be ready. She was wrong. I sent Walsh the joint statements, the 11 transfers, every date, every amount. What she did? That's a problem for her, Walsh said. Every dollar she moved, we can bring it back into the case. All $23,000? Every cent, plus whatever we can prove she spent. Diane didn't know that conversation happened. That week, she started bringing her sister to the house. They'd sit at my kitchen table, talking in low voices that stopped the moment I walked in. Her sister would smile at me, that quiet kind of smile people give you when they think you've already lost. I'd nod, pour a coffee, walk back to my office. The notebook was on page 23 and still growing. I opened an account in my name only. Quiet, clean, the first move she wouldn't see coming. Diane didn't notice. That told me everything. She was moving through the house like the paperwork was already signed, like I was already gone. And Marcus, he hadn't delivered yet. Whatever she'd asked him for, she was still waiting. I could see it in the way she watched me at dinner. Not worried, waiting. That told me I still had time. Not much, but enough. Walsh called Thursday morning. Diane's attorney had requested a full business valuation. Independent appraiser. 3 years of financials. Full access. Can they do that? Yes, Walsh said. But so can we. And Gary, it's time we talk about what Marcus Webb actually has access to. I already knew the answer. That's what kept me up the night before. 11 days to respond to the temporary order. And if I got this wrong, she wouldn't just walk away with the house. She'd walk away with the business, too. If Marcus talked first, it was over. There was one person I needed to reach before Diane did. I just didn't know if she'd already gotten to him. I drove to the Hollis Mechanical Yard at 6:30 in the morning, before Diane was awake, before anyone called anyone. Marcus's truck was already there, corner spot, same place 11 years running. I sat across from him in the site office with the door closed and set the notebook on the table between us. Didn't say anything, just let him look at it. He didn't touch it, just stared. Then finally, she called me 3 weeks ago. I didn't move. She wanted the equipment valuations, lease agreements, the Henderson contract. He paused. She told me you were already done, that the business was going to be split, and she needed documentation for her attorney. What did you give her? He looked at the window. Nothing. I told her I needed to hear it from you first. 11 years, and he'd waited to hear it from me. I wrote the date in the notebook, wrote what he said, word for word. Then I told him what was coming, the independent appraiser, the valuation request, the temporary order, everything. He didn't flinch, said, "Tell me what you need." That was the first morning in weeks I could breathe. Diane was in the kitchen when I walked in, dressed early, keys on the counter. She looked at me. "You were gone early." "Job site," I said. She nodded, picked up her keys, left. I watched her car back out of the driveway. She had no idea what had just changed. That afternoon, Walsh called with something I hadn't anticipated. She'd gone back through all 11 transfers, cross-referenced the dates against Diane's calendar, part of the discovery documents I'd handed over. Every transfer lined up with her attorney meetings. Not impulsive, coordinated. That changes the exposure significantly, Walsh said. For her or for him? Both. She kept going. Diane's attorney is filing the valuation motion Friday. If the appraiser gets to those records before we control the narrative, he won't, I said. And for the first time, I meant it. Walsh paused. "You talked to Marcus this morning?" A beat of silence. Then, "Good. Don't move anything else until I call you Monday." Diane came home that evening carrying shopping bags, her sister with her, laughing about something before they even came through the door. She set the bags down, looked at me across the kitchen, still waiting, still certain. I nodded, walked back to my office. Walsh had sent over the full transfer breakdown while I was driving home. I went through it line by line. 10 transfers matched the pattern, clean, consistent, but one didn't. $11,400. Same week I'd refinanced the business line of credit. I set the paper down. That wasn't divorce planning. That wasn't even close to divorce planning. That was something else entirely, and it changed everything I thought I understood about how far back this went. Walsh called Monday at 8:15. Not her assistant, her. "Gary, I need you to sit down." I was already sitting. "Diane isn't just a signatory on your joint personal accounts." A pause. "She's listed as a secondary authorized signatory on the Hollis Mechanical operating account. Has been since 2019. I didn't say anything. The $11,400 didn't come from your personal savings. It came from the business. The room went completely still. That's not dissipation of marital assets, Walsh said. That's unauthorized withdrawal from a business operating account. Gary, that's a different category of problem for her entirely. I set the phone on the desk, picked it up again. How different? Civil exposure, potentially criminal referral. Depends on what her attorney knew and when. I thought back to 2019. I'd added her name myself. Accountant suggested it. Emergency access, just in case. 15 minutes of paperwork on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd handed her the key and never thought about it again. I drove home that evening and knew something was wrong before I reached the front door. Her car was in the driveway, 2 hours earlier than usual. I walked in. She was standing in the hallway outside my office, arms crossed. Something in her expression I hadn't seen before. Not calm, not waiting. Caught. "You went to see Marcus," she said. I didn't answer. "He called me, told me you came by the yard." Her voice was steady, but her jaw was tight. "Whatever you think you found, Gary, it doesn't matter. Not yet." First time in 3 months she'd tried to explain anything. "I'm not looking for an explanation," I said. I walked past her into the office. She followed, silent, tightening the space between us with every step. I opened the desk drawer, went still. My father's watch was gone. 40-year-old Hamilton, the only thing of his I'd kept. 19 years in that drawer. I turned. She was staring at the open drawer. The watch was gone. Her eyes met mine, but no words came, just a pause that felt heavier than anything she'd said in months. I walked past her again, picked up my keys. She said, "Gary." I closed the front door behind me, sat in the truck, both hands on the wheel. Walsh had the documentation. Marcus had held the line. The business records were protected. But Diane had just made her first real mistake, and she didn't know yet what it had already cost her. The hearing was in 9 days, and her attorney was about to walk into that courtroom with no idea what Walsh had uncovered in the records. The night before the hearing, I read every page of that notebook from the beginning. 41 pages, 2 hours. When I closed it, I left it on the desk and went to bed. Didn't sleep, just lay there in the dark with the ceiling above me and everything I'd built sitting in a folder on Walsh's desk. I parked on South Tryon at 7:15. Building wasn't open yet. Walsh met me inside, looked at me once and said, "Stay quiet. Let the documents talk." Diane arrived 12 minutes later, composed, careful, walked past me in the corridor without looking at me. Her attorney, Clifford Bray, opened his briefcase with the ease of a man who'd done this 1,000 times. He didn't know what Walsh had filed at 8 that morning. Judge Sandra Okafor entered, sat, opened the file, went still. She turned to page 3, read it, turned to page 4, went back to page 3. Walsh didn't move. I didn't move. Bray was still arranging papers. Judge Okafor set the document down, removed her glasses. "Counsel," she looked directly at Bray, 11 transfers, $47,000. Your client's name on every one. She turned one page further. And a separate $11,400 withdrawn from a registered business operating account. She paused. "Walk me through this." Bray stood up, opened his mouth, and couldn't say a word. That's when Diane reached for my hand under the table. 33 years. And now she wanted my hand. I moved it. Bray recovered, said the transfers were precautionary, the business withdrawal a clerical error, an oversight. Judge Okafor looked at him for a long moment, then turned to Walsh. Walsh stood, stated Marcus's name, 11 years, his written confirmation that Diane had contacted him directly, requesting equipment valuations, lease agreements, an active contract, without my knowledge. Diane didn't move, but something shifted in her jaw. The judge picked up the document again, turned to the final page, found something, read it once, then again, set it down slowly. We'll take a 15-minute recess. In the corridor, Walsh said, "They're requesting an emergency conference with the judge before she rules." What does that mean? It means they've seen what's coming. I stood there. Down the corridor, Bray had Diane against the wall, speaking low and fast, her arms crossed, head down. For the first time in 6 months, she looked small. Walsh's phone buzzed. She read it, looked up at me. "Gary, Bray just made an offer." I waited. "She'll drop the home claim, drop the business valuation, settle on the joint accounts only." I looked down the corridor at Diane. "Tell him we'll hear the judge's ruling." Judge Okafor didn't look up when she spoke. "The documentation presents a clear pattern. 11 transfers. Systematic, coordinated, traceable." She turned one page. "The $11,400 withdrawal from the Hollis Mechanical operating account is being referred to the Mecklenburg County DA's office for review." Diane's hand went flat on the table. "Petitioner's claim on the marital home, denied. Claim against Hollis Mechanical, dismissed. The $47,000 in transferred assets returned to the joint estate in full. 14 days, counsel." She closed the file. That was it. No drama, no speech. Just facts stated plainly in a quiet room. In the corridor, Diane passed me without stopping. Bray beside her, speaking fast. She slowed for just a moment, looked at me like she was searching for something. Some crack, some damage. There wasn't one. She kept walking. I watched her reach the end of that corridor and push through the door. Walsh said, "It's done." I nodded. I drove home, walked into a house that was still mine, sat in my office, opened the desk drawer, empty where the watch had been. Walsh had filed a motion for it that morning. It would be back within the week. I left the drawer open and sat there in the quiet. She had built everything on one assumption, that 33 years had made me comfortable enough to stop paying attention. She mistook my silence for surrender.
This is a fictional story, but the moments in it, they could happen to anyone. The part that stays with me is not the courtroom. It is the parking lot, sitting alone, engine off, the weight of it all hitting you, and no one there to guide you. When no one's watching, no plan, no strategy, that shapes everything that comes next. And the decision, I would say, you make alone, those are the ones that matters the most. And if you can relate to this, like, this is just my opinion, if you can relate to this, please do let me know. I will read every comment. And yeah, that's it for today. uh See you in the next. Thank you.